I think radical generosity means to me, first of all, you got to understand what creation is all about and be aware of the abundance that's all around us that's been given to us. And I think once we sort of take the veil off our eyes and begin to realize that we haven't created all this, that even the buildings in the downtown areas and the apartments and homes we live in are here because of the gifts that creation offers to us and the way we use it. And then we can begin to interpret that into how we live externally in the world out of our understanding of our internal abundance.
The Anastasis icon, the icon of the resurrection, is Jesus pulling people out from death to life. And that's what the stewardship is. It's helping people come out of the death of their white knuckling of their money and their fear around money and their anxiety around pledging and giving and all their internal angst about whether the church deserves their money and whether they're paying God or whether, and it just the resurrection and the freedom making of helping people to open up and just give their money back to God because they simply understand the relationship whereby they give a portion of what they have to honor the relationship with their God. It is the icon from the apse of the male side of the Kora monastery in what is now Istanbul, but was Constantinople. It is obviously the resurrection. It's Holy Saturday. It's going down to hell and breaking hell open. So it's just before, it's the spiritual work before the physical resurrection. On the left, Jesus is pulling Adam out of the grave, and behind him are John the Baptist, King Solomon, King David, and Moses. And on his left, on our right, he's pulling Eve out of death and into life, representing all women, all the other half of humanity. And behind her is the first innocent, Abel. He gets prominent place as the first innocent. And then Peter, James, and John, who tie the story of the Transfiguration up. And behind him, the person you can't see is you, is every one of us, is all persons. All of us who witness this act every single day, and especially on Sundays. That's us, the guy with the gray hair there, or maybe the woman with the gray hair, who knows? And then Jesus is coming out of that life-bearing shape, the mandola, the almond shape, also the shape of the female birth canal, the emergence into life from life-bearing, right? And what do you notice about Jesus's physicality? What would have shocked a bunch of monks when this was written in the 700s? He's strong, that's part of it. That's the dynamos of breaking hell open.
He's got some nice hips.
That's it. You did it. You won. Can you say that again, really loud?
He's got some nice hips.
He's got some nice hips. A man with female life-bearing hips, accentuated by the wrap in the middle for strength of lifting. You've seen that on movers of refrigerators. And underneath that wrap, that cincture, which is what's represented by the monk's cincture, that's why the monk ties the rope that dangles, that's the cincture, tying that middle part on for strength of character, for strengthening the abdomen, because we've got lifting to do today. So under that cincture is life-bearing female hips. And they're twisted in power of pull. And in the day, that was really scandalous, because the men were like, excuse me, but they got it. And it's there to this day. They didn't paint over it, and they could have. This work you're doing, we're doing together in fundraising and spiritual depth around conversion of money is really important because it's the issue of our day, and we've got this heavy lifting to do. And anyone who's not doing it needs to figure out how, which is why you're here. Thank you very much. Because this is the work we have to do. And the reason is because in the 1660s in London, when a priest mounted the pulpit in the 1660s in London, not to mention the fact that there were not many left in London because they had all just moved out to Tunbridge Wells where there was no plague and no fire. So there were empty pulpits everywhere because men are notoriously, I mean, you know, you saw the disciples. You saw what they did at the crucifixion. Men run away. And so there were the very few pulpits were actually being preached from in the 1660s in London because they were minor aristocrats and they went to their country houses. But if you were a priest and you stayed in London, God loved you. And in the 1600s, in the 1660s, and you were willing to slog through the Great Fire and the plague, which happened at the same time. Plague, fire, London. Plague, fire, plague. It was a nasty sandwich. People lost a third to half of all relationships. When you mounted that pulpit in London in 1666, 1667, you better be talking about grief, Mr. Man. In those days, they were men. You better be helping people deal with grief. Don't you dare get up and talk in that pulpit about something theological or liturgical, some commentary nicety. These people have just suffered through the plague and the great fire. Don't you dare leave the topic they need you to talk about. And so today, the reason I'm so excited and happy to be here amongst you is that you're here because you don't want to avoid the topic of money, which is today's version of a spiritual plague and great fire. The issue of the 1660s was fire and plague. The issue of 2012 is money and money.